Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Havenfall, and it's from Debecco Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. There will be a link up in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the page. You can find out even more information than I can possibly tell you here, and hopefully you'll consider backing the project. Now, Havenfall is a deck-building game where you and the other players are fantasy warriors trying to raise up a party of warriors to go and fight these evil monsters who are defiling and corrupting the land. You'll have weaker minion monsters, but also boss monsters which you have to face, and you're going to be recruiting other heroes of different types and different ranks, getting powerful artifacts, getting spells, but you're all competing to be the ultimate hero to save the land. So sometimes you're using those spells against other players, trying to foil them, and just trying to get the best cards before the other players can as well. You're all in a race to be the first one to get to 10 points. Now let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played with a prototype version of the game. So keep that in mind as we go into the overview. Some things that you see in this version may change in the final version. Just want to tell you about that. Then we're going to come back and we'll discuss it further.
Havenfall is a competitive game for 2 to 4 players. Players are adventurers who are attempting to destroy the monsters and boss monsters corrupting the land. Defeating bosses will give you points, and the first person to get to 10 points is the winner. Havenfall is also a deck building game, and standard deck building rules apply. Every player starts with an inferior deck of the same 10 cards, which you will draw 5 cards from every round, but you will be able to acquire more and better cards throughout the game, which will go into a player's discard pile. When your deck runs out, you reshuffle your discard pile and form a new deck, which means you'll eventually be able to draw and play those better cards. Players get a War Room board, their starting deck, and a leader at random. The War Room starts with 1 pixel of your color on the available side. Pixels can be exhausted in order to fuel your cards and use their powerful extra abilities. For instance, in your starting deck you have Copper, which gives you 1 treasure to spend for buying cards, but if you also spend 1 yellow pixel as indicated on the card, it gives you an extra treasure to spend. While spending 1 red pixel with your sword lets you play a card from another player's hand, and then put it back. Different colored pixels have different focuses on gameplay. Your leader also has a powerful ability to use as well. However, you can't access your leader until any player defeats the first boss, at which point that card goes into your discard pile like any other card you acquire. While we're on the topic, leaders, as well as any of the hero cards you purchase during the game, have damage and health stats. These stats need to meet or beat the same stats on monsters in order to defeat them. Lay out the game board and fill the different spots with the appropriate stacks of cards. Silver and gold cards are better treasure cards that you can buy. 2 random artifacts of each type are placed on each artifact space and are just really powerful but super expensive cards that you can use in your deck. The hero row setup is much more complex. Heroes of the appropriate rank from 1 to 3 must be placed in each spot, or more specifically, stacks of them will be placed. You can choose the heroes randomly or deterministically, but you must look at the pixel colors of each card, and amongst them, 2 of every color of pixel must be represented. It helps that some heroes are dual colored. Some heroes are also more complex and have additional cards that you must play with. The monster deck is shuffled and 3 are placed out at random, in the first and second minion spot and then the boss spot. You can't start with a rank 5 and play, and you can only have 1 rank 4 out there at the start. If a monster is in the minion space, you only look at the bottom damage and health, which are the numbers your combined heroes must meet or beat to defeat it. If it's in the boss space, you need to meet or beat the top 2 numbers. Any monster you defeat nets you 1 pixel of the matching color from the supply, so put on the exhausted side of your War Room board. Defeating a boss monster specifically gives you points equal to its rank, which you keep track of on the scoreboard with a meeple of your color. When a monster is defeated, the remaining monsters slide to the left and a new monster is drawn into the boss slot. Finally, there are spells. Shuffle the deck and place it face down. If you have the spellbook card in hand, you can play it to gain a spell from the top of the stack for 3 treasure, which immediately gets placed face down near your War Room. If you use the spellbook special ability, you can take the card for free. You can play these cards whenever they apply to help yourself or hurt your opponents by paying the pictured pixels, which is hard to say, or any pixel if the color is gray. The actual turn structure of the game involves each player in turn order taking one action. You have 3 options for that action. You can use your turn to purchase a card. You can use it to fight a monster. Or you can trash cards. For each pixel of any color you exhaust, you can permanently remove a card in your hand from the game in order to eliminate your weak cards. Keep playing until one player gets to 10 points. Whoever gets to that point first on their turn is the winner.
Now, I always talk about deck building games that take the core of the genre and sort of flip it around and manipulate it in different ways to make it something feel fresh and new. And I think that Havenfall is definitely making an attempt to do that because, first and foremost, it's got all this really creative pixel art, which there are a lot of games that have pixel art, but not a lot of deck building games or games of this weight. A lot of times you see pixel art, it's really just slapped on like a deck of cards type game or something like that. Whereas this is a full board and card game. So you have that going for it, but there's also the fact that it's not just, oh, here's some cards out here, purchase them, and then blah, blah, blah. Rather, there's an innovative system of how you use pixels, which in this case are cubes, as a form of currency. So, well, there's 2 types of currency. So you're using treasure just to buy cards, put them into your deck, and then you're using the pixels to fuel your not only spells, but also just the extra abilities on the cards that you have. So it's an interesting 2-tiered thing where like you can just use cards and it's a standard deck building thing, but if you want to make them better, you need to worry about the pixel supply that you have. Now, the only way that you're going to get more pixels is by defeating monsters, and that's also the way that you're going to win the game is by defeating the boss monsters. But if you don't think that you're going to have enough for the boss monster, well, or you're just not going to have enough, well, okay, you go for one of the minions monsters and try to go for one. You don't have a lot of options, but go for one that's going to get you a pixel that might be useful to you based on the cards that you've already collected. Now, the cards that you've already collected might be heroes of varying ranks, and there's a lot of different heroes. They all have very different abilities. Some of them really break the game in interesting ways, like the Thief, which can put fake diamonds in other players' discard piles to clog up their deck in deck-building fashion, that type of thing. There's also the powerful Artifacts cards, which are really expensive, but very powerful. And oftentimes, if you're playing the long game, which can be difficult in this game because it is a race to get to 10, you might be inclined to save up for those cards because other players might be buying a lot of other cheaper cards while you're doing that. But you might just be buying silver and gold as much as you can. But as soon as you get those artifact cards and when you draw them, they are very powerful. So there's a lot of options in this game as to what you can purchase. The static piles of cards, the really powerful cards if you can save up for them, all the many hero cards that might be out there. Fighting the monsters as quickly as you can, as many as you can, is certainly an option, although only the boss monsters are going to give you points. Getting the spell cards, which can really mess with the other players or give you a temporary boost, but then they're gone. So you have to worry about that as well. And by the way, I think I may have forgotten to mention in the overview that when you use a spell card, it's destroyed and out of the game. So definitely a thing that you have to worry about if you decide to go that route. But the end result of all of this is that there's a lot of different decisions to be made in the game while still maintaining the core deck building element and putting a new and different spin on it. So if you like deck building games, if you like pixel RPG video games and that art style, if you just like the idea of a highly competitive strategy game that has a lot of different mechanisms and lots of different options in it, you should definitely check out Havenfall. It's also good for casual gamers as well because it's very quick to learn and quick to set up. But check it out on Kickstarter. There will be a link in the top corner of your screen when it launches, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the page. You don't have to take my word for it. Find out more and hopefully consider backing the project. That is Havenfall from Debecco Games. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting our sponsors. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.